Warning, unauthorized user is detected. Spoilers ahead. Key accepted. Training pod is authorized. Welcome, pilot, to the basic guide to the Titanfall lore and story. The purpose of this simulation is to refresh your memory about the Titanfall story and help you understand it better before playing Titanfall 2. Over the next 18 minutes, you'll be learning about the Titanfall universe, the characters, and the campaign story. Keep in mind, the lore is limited at this point and we'll know a lot more come Titanfall 2. If you're new here, subscribe for the latest Titanfall 2 news and hype, and to become a Titanfall legend. With that being said, let's get started. Titanfall takes place in a universe where most of humanity lives in the core systems, made up of Earth and other planets near Earth. In the 20th century, a company called Hammond Robotics is founded and begin creating some of the most advanced robots we've ever seen. Among them, the Titan. Titans are the primary form of heavy warfare in the world of Titanfall. Their operators do not control them like robots. Instead, they serve as a natural extension of the pilot's body. Measuring roughly 20 feet tall, they're surprisingly agile with the ability to sprint and sidestep. Wielding a wide range of weapons and tools, the use of Titans quickly became widespread in both combat and civilian life. From cargo transport to military search and rescue in deep space, the robots proved themselves invaluable to humanity. Titans are operated by highly trained soldiers known as pilots. Pilots are equipped with a booster pack and undergo intense training in the art of wall running, double jumping, and much more combat training. Because of the extreme physical and mental challenges of mastering both Titan combat and pilot parkour movement, a fully combat certified Titan pilot is a rare find, and the combat skills of active pilots in the field varies widely throughout the universe. Besides robots and booster packs, other scientific breakthroughs at the time included a faster than light jump drive. The jump drive allowed space and time to be compressed down and made smaller, making tremendous distances take only seconds to move across. Developments such as these opened the gateway for the creator of the Titan, Hammond Robotics, to expand into a commercial empire known as the Interstellar Manufacturing Corporation, or IMC for short. And somewhere along the line during all of this, a new region of deep space was discovered: the Frontier. The Frontier is a large collection of solar systems and habitable planets located extremely far away from Earth and the core systems. Although other Earth-like planets do exist throughout known space, what makes the Frontier so unique is that the solar systems containing the planets are clustered very close to each other, allowing for quick transportation within the region. When the Frontier was first discovered, the IMC funded expeditions to explore and colonize the new worlds. But over time, the novelty of the discoveries wore off. The public interest in the Frontier began to diminish back on Earth and the core systems, and with other conflicts in the core taking priority, the IMC decided to abandon all investment in the Frontier. And so for decades, life on the Frontier continued with little connection to the IMC and the core. By the time the IMC focused on the Frontier again, to their shock, the descendants of the original expeditions were flourishing by themselves. Many new worlds had been colonized, and vast resources had been discovered. Struggling to match consumer demand back in the core systems, the IMC decided to impose eminent domain in the Frontier. In other words, they declared that since they originally invested in the expeditions and loans to the explorers, the land and resources were rightfully the IMC's. They sent large fleets of military in to retake control of almost all the Frontier, building new manufacturing and mining operations and often displacing established Frontier citizens along the way. If your land was on a patch of resources the IMC wanted, they'd simply force you off of it or put you to work for them. If you didn't comply, in some cases, you'd be killed. After years of turmoil and innocent lives lost, the citizens of the Frontier decided enough was enough. They put aside their differences and joined together to fight back against the IMC, forming the militia. Although the militia was less organized than the IMC, their vast resources and knowledge of the land allowed them to assault locations quickly and effectively, making them a force to be reckoned with. The only division of the militia we know of is the Marauder Corps, aka the M Corps, who help protect the Freeport system. Today, the militia fight for independence from the IMC's exploitation of the Frontier and its people. They view the land as their own and the IMC as the invaders, while the IMC views the militia as ungrateful terrorists who would have been nothing without the IMC's original investments to get them to the Frontier. Now that we've gone over the IMC and militia, it's time we talked about the main characters. Let's start with the IMC. The IMC is split into multiple divisions, of which we know the name of only one: Hammond Robotics is the source of a large amount of the IMC's power as it develops their Titans and Spectres, their automated infantry. They rely heavily on their Spectres for battle as they are expendable. There's a few IMC characters that are heavily involved with the Titanfall 1 storyline, the first of which is SPYGLASS. SPYGLASS is a physical manifestation of the IMC's vast network identity. It handles logistics, navigation, deployment, and communications between all IMC forces on the frontier. SPYGLASS units themselves are considered expendable in the field, while SPYGLASS itself is pure artificial intelligence that survives on a network. Unlike other IMC characters, SPYGLASS has no morals or ethics, meaning it can make ruthless, calculated decisions for the IMC. BLISK is a South African-born space mercenary currently hired by the IMC. His first contract made him enough money that he could have retired to a tropical paradise, but after considering the excellent pay, and more importantly the opportunity to lay waste to everything in sight, BLISK decided that the IMC's offer of renewal was just too good to pass up. In the structure of command for the IMC, Graves is known as the CINC Front. This stands for the Commander-in-Chief, Frontier Command. Frontier commanders in the IMC are not bound by rules as strict as those in the core systems, meaning he can act as he pleases and make his own decisions in the conflict. However, Graves has a reputation in the IMC for being somewhat of a loose cannon. His operations are often seen as too lenient towards the Frontier civilians, meaning increased danger is put upon the IMC forces. Now, onto the militia characters. A highly decorated veteran of the Titan Wars, a long war fought prior to the events of the Titanfall campaign, James MACALLAN was originally IMC and served as the executive officer of a spaceship called the IMS Odyssey, under the command of Marcus Graves. IMC reports indicate that MACALLAN led a mutiny aboard the Odyssey 15 years ago. However, these reports have not been proven as the ship's flight data recorder was lost when MACALLAN and his people escaped with the Odyssey and disappeared into the frontier. Sarah is one of the characters whose past is made available to us. Raised in the frontier, she lost her parents and other family due to incidents with the IMC. Since childhood, she vowed to make every attempt to remove the IMC from the frontier, no matter what the cost. She spent a large amount of time working in a covert operations section of the militia before being promoted to a high-ranking member of the M Corps. Bish moved to the frontier while the IMC were at their prime and held most of the frontier. He was screwed over on a job by the IMC and had spent all of his money reaching the frontier. Desperate and poor, Bish had a stroke of luck in a bar fight. The militia noticed his skill, found out about his incredible knowledge of technology, and realized he would be invaluable to them. An interesting fact about the name Bish, it's short for Bishamon, an ancient warrior god in Japanese history. Barker is an ex-IMC pilot captured by the militia to work for the M Corps. A past acquaintance of MACALLAN and an incredibly skilled pilot, Barker is invaluable for his knowledge and expertise. That covers the characters in Titanfall. Now let's get to the story. Titanfall did not feature a single-player campaign, but a multiplayer campaign instead. In the campaign, you got to play from the IMC point of view or the militia, and although there were some maps where the visual outcome would be different if you won, whether you won or lost, the story stayed the same. I'll be giving you a brief summary of what happened in each mission in simple terms so you can understand the story fully. Let's get started. Low on fuel, the militia's first fleet raided a large refueling station on planet Troy in the frontier. On the edge of defeat, the militia forces have to find a way to fight on despite losing their commanding officer in an earlier battle. The IMC expects the attack and sets up defenses across the site. The outcome of this battle depends on how the players themselves do in the game. If the IMC wins the match, the militia's flagship, the Red Eye, is destroyed. If the militia wins, the Red Eye survives and the M Corps escapes with a substantial amount of fuel. Win or lose, the militia jumps off into the frontier, with the IMC trailing right behind them. Following the militia's raid, the IMC continues to search for the enemy's fleet. They find a colony on a previously uncharted world and assume that the militia is present. An advanced team is sent, commanded by BLISK. The colonists living there send out a distress signal, which is received by the militia. The militia arrive to help, then the IMC and the militia clash in the burned-out colony. During the battle, James MACALLAN, an ex-IMC soldier, contacts the militia and tells them if they want to help, to come to him.
This is James MACALLAN, formerly of the IMC. You want to help? You come and get me.
He reveals that most of the surviving colonists have evacuated to the ruins of his former flagship, the IMS Odyssey. The IMC also hears the message and follows them once again. In exchange for the rescue of his fellow colonists near the wreckage of the IMS Odyssey, James MACALLAN offers to help lead the militia against the IMC. Although Sarah does not trust him, Bish insists that getting the ex-IMC officer's help is their best chance of defeating the IMC, so they agree. Meanwhile, Graves tracks MACALLAN's transmission and deploys IMC forces to try to stop the militia. During the battle, MACALLAN downloads the contents of the Odyssey's computer core, which contains vital information about the IMC's refueling station called Demeter. Destroying Demeter would mean the IMC couldn't send any more reinforcements or supplies into the frontier. The militia escapes again, and MACALLAN and the militia forces travel to Angel City to capture a guy called Barker. Barker is an old friend of MACALLAN's and is described as a formidable pilot. Unlucky for the militia, Barker is also a heavy alcoholic, and they reach Barker during a drinking session. The IMC gets tipped off by informants in Angel City and arrive to try to stop the militia once again. Halfway through the battle, an IMC carrier known as the Sentinel warps in to prevent Barker and MACALLAN's escape. MACALLAN orders all militia fighters to attack the Sentinel in order to damage it and keep the carrier out of the main battle, knowing full well that they wouldn't be able to destroy it, and the militia escapes with the rather drunk Barker. With the Sentinel damaged but still posing a threat to the militia fleet, the IMC carrier retreats to Outpost 207 for repairs. MACALLAN knew where and how to destroy the carrier with the use of the outpost weaponry. However, IMC ground forces are deployed to stop this attempt. Eventually, the weaponry charges up enough and destroys the Sentinel, leaving the path clear for the militia. With a window of opportunity, the militia plot a course for the Boneyard, an abandoned IMC base where Barker used to work. Years ago, the base was protected by wildlife repulsor towers, and the militia's goal is to restore power to the facility to recover information on how to shut those towers down. The IMC is aware of MACALLAN's plan and intercepts them once again. They try to blow up the towers before the militia can learn anything about them. After another long battle, the militia receives all the information required on turning off the towers. With their newfound knowledge, the militia proceeds to an airbase where IMC reinforcements are about to take off and crush the incoming militia fleet. To disrupt the takeoff, the militia causes a distraction on the ground while Sarah and her team enters the sonic repulsion towers and tries to deactivate them. The militia is successful yet again. They deactivate the towers, leaving the IMC vulnerable to wildlife attacks, and then head to the final target, Demeter. In the most important battle yet, the militia forces attack Demeter, the IMC refueling station that allows travel between the core and the frontier. The IMC pilots arrive at the battle via orbital drop pod due to the chaotic battle occurring in the skies.
I hate this part. Cut the chatter. Initiating drop sequence.
Separation confirmed. Impact in 3, 2, 1.
The militia pilots attempt the riskier option, a dropship insertion.
Hard right! Russell, get us the hell out of here! Sir, jump calculations haven't finished yet. I don't give a damn, just do it! Jump now! Now, damn it, now! Jumping in 3, 2, 1, Jump control, we made it. En route to reactor core 5.
It's been hit!
Brace for impact!
Mayday, we're going down!
Despite the loss, some militia pilots are able to continue the battle after being rallied by James MACALLAN, who joins the battle himself in a Titan.
This is MACALLAN. Hang on. I'm on my way.
We're getting off this hill! Come with me! Holy shit, it's MACALLAN!
As the battle progresses, MACALLAN reaches the facility's reactor core. BLISK arrives shortly after to stop him, but MACALLAN locks himself inside the reactor chamber. He manually disables the reactor's heat regulation system, resulting in the reactor going unstable. BLISK gets the hell out of there, knowing the battle is already lost. MACALLAN makes one final plea to Graves to quit the IMC and lead the militia instead.
Marcus, they trusted me as an ex-IMC officer, and they're gonna need someone after I'm gone. You told me 15 years ago, on board the Odyssey, to take the ship. Now I'm giving you the same choice.
As the reactor begins to overload, SPYGLASS and MACALLAN override the IMC militia's commands to send in evacuation ships to retrieve the pilots and instead order their fleets to jump to safety, leaving everyone else behind. MACALLAN then sacrifices himself as the reactor explodes, killing all the pilots in the area and destroying the Demeter facility.
Pilots, this is MACALLAN.
False destination.
If you're still on the ground out there,
3,
it's been an honor
2,
serving with
On the frontier today, the IMC's port of Demeter was attacked by militia insurgents. Reports are sketchy, but indications are that the refueling facilities sustained major damage in the battle.
The final mission of the Titanfall campaign has some surprising revelations. Graves actually ends up switching sides and becomes the commander of the militia. With the IMC on their heels, the militia attacks a Hammond Robotics facility, from which the majority of the IMC's remaining forces are being created in the forms of Titans and Spectres. During the battle, BLISK, who is now promoted to commander of the IMC, and Graves engage in conversations over comms, now on opposing sides. We see Graves' true nature, and we see a cold, ruthless side to BLISK that wasn't as present beforehand.
We don't have to be against each other, BLISK. It could be us against the machines.
Then how are we going to ever know who's better?
No person is better than another, BLISK.
I disagree. You kill me, you're better. I kill you, I'm better.
Graves also introduces the idea that the Spectres and Titans are the real enemy, as they fight for whomever is controlling them and hold no real allegiances.
BLISK, you fight alongside machines, but they believe in nothing. They have no loyalty. They're loyal only to their operator.
You're gonna lecture me about loyalty? You change your uniform like you're changing socks.
In the end, against faceless machines and people like you who fight only for a paycheck, we will win.
I'll fight you for free, Graves. Hope to find you on the ground soon, eh?
The IMC puts up a valiant fight, but once again, they're defeated. The militia hacks the facility and destroys it, cutting off the IMC's near-infinite supply of Spectres.
For the first time, we can truly hope for victory.
The story ends with two different cutscenes for the IMC and the militia. One of SPYGLASS telling the IMC troops they're now on the defensive with no more reinforcements to help, but that they're still organized and will defend the frontier. And the other of James MACALLAN and a recording he made before he died telling the militia they'll soon take back their land and the common people will side with their cause. So what does the ending of the campaign mean for the future of the frontier? With the IMC unable to deploy reinforcements from the core systems and the largest part of their army now disabled, the IMC are now incredibly limited in the frontier. This means that the militia should easily be able to sweep in and take back control, releasing the citizens of the frontier and bringing about a new age. However, with the frontier now without an organized command like the IMC in control of it, will everything fall into anarchy, or will the militia manage to maintain order? And although the IMC are on the defense, do they have a secret weapon that we don't know about? While I'd love to give you the answers, we're gonna have to wait for Titanfall 2 to find out.
Regain your equilibrium.
Training program completed. Welcome back, pilot. If you made it to the end of the simulation, consider leaving a review in the form of a rating or a comment. It took a lot to create, and any feedback is greatly appreciated. If you haven't already, click subscribe for the latest Titanfall 2 news and hype, and to become a Titanfall legend. This has been your host Jackson Dale, and until next time, stand by for Titanfall.